So this is the Hadley Housing Authority Board of Commissioners regular meeting, Tuesday, May 20th at 11:12, well, pretty close, 11:11 a.m. Golden Court Community Room. The first item on the agenda is topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Does anyone have anything that is not on the agenda that couldn't be reasonably anticipated before Friday at 11?
Yes, I brought it up to you at the last few meetings that I wanted to add to the agenda bullying, and it's not on the agenda today.
I do not remember at all getting an email or a text
No, I
from
told you when you were sitting here after the meeting.
Or
You
I
were-
have no note to reflect that.
That's
However,
right.
we do have a, we're not going to discuss it now, but we do have a policy on bullying, and I'd refer you back to that. But if you would like that to be, would we discuss items for future agenda, why don't you bring that up? And
I'd like to have it on the agenda to bring it up, right?
as I said, under Commissioners' discussion, items for future agenda, that would be the time to bring it up. Does anyone else have anything? Is there
No,
any?
go ahead.
Wonderful, okay. So the next item is approval of the minutes from April 29th, 2025. Can I get a motion? Come on, Rich, this is your last meeting. Why don't you do all the motions?
I'll make the motion that we accept the April 29th minutes.
And can I get a second?
A second.
Yay, thank you, Crystal. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Oh, good.
Rich is a yes, Reese is a yes,
Yes.
Crystal's a yes, and Sue's a yes. Moving right along. Executive Director report. For financials, the warrant report is a votable item, so I will ask for a motion. Rich?
We don't have a report.
We don't have a.
We don't have a warrant report. I thought the financials came in. I got handed a bunch of
We do have the
financials.
financials, but we don't.
We don't have the warrant, okay. So, we don't have a warrant report for today.
Checks went out.
We're training up a new accountant, right?
Yes.
To the Housing Authority system. So hopefully by
Oh, you'll have
June,
one, yeah, you'll have
we're
one.
gonna have lots of warrant reports, so.
They'll just be back.
Yeah. So, does anyone have a question on the treasurer's report? Hearing nothing, we'll move on to property management. Does anyone have any question on the unit vacancy report or the tenant's account receivable report? Hearing nothing, let's move on to facilities. Does anyone have any question on the work order report? Hearing nothing.
Question.
Capital report, does anyone, is there a capital report in here? I
There
didn't.
is, yep, there's a
Okay.
memo.
So would you like to, I think that probably we've got questions about the is there anything of note that you'd like to bring our attention to?
No, other than we really are nearing completion of units 35 and 37.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yep. Finally.
Well, yeah. Any movement on the two Burke Way units?
107 is inching forward. Their architect is preparing the vote for the contract for you folks to bring. to the next
Wow,
meeting.
wonderful. That has been a long slog.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, the next item is board correspondence. Does anyone have anything to present? Hearing nothing? Huh?
Board correspondence.
There's no board correspondence
Yeah.
unless you received an email from someone outside the board or talked to a board
Right.
member.
I just go in case
Yeah.
you did. Somebody.
No, I knew there wasn't anything
Okay.
listed here. Anybody else have anything under board correspondence
No,
to
I
discuss
haven't.
conversations one's had with select board members or anything like that to report? No one? Okay. Number 5 is commissioners' discussion, items for future agenda. So I do have some things, but let's start with Sue, who, you don't need to make a case, just tell me what you want.
Just discuss bullying in general, having to do with board members, bullying other board members.
We have a code of conduct.
Just because you have one doesn't mean, I still feel we need a discussion on it.
Well, what do you think, Krista? What's
Okay,
the
I just
conversation?
want to ask you, Sue, so for the past couple of meetings, we have discussed the ethics, we have discussed the members of the new ethics committee, and you have mentioned bullying. So what have we not covered in those past meetings that you still feel as if you're being bullied?
I don't feel like now's the time to discuss it.
Well, yeah, we
just-
can't discuss
Because it's
it.
not on the agenda, and number one. Number two, I have notes and more detail about how I feel about certain things.
Okay, so it's not a personal bullying
No,
issue?
it's not a personal
Okay,
bullying
so what
issue.
type of, you said board member against board member.
Well, just in general, attitudinal,
So you're just saying this is a personal,
I just see certain things on this particular board where people run roughshod over other people, and I consider that bullying, and we need to have some way of dealing with it. After the meeting, having a discussion and bringing up maybe some things that
well,
happened.
after the meeting, it's very hard.
We
because
can't,
there are
yeah.
people who have things to do after the meeting.
All
So
right,
this is
well, I'm
fitting
just saying,
in.
I like to bring it up, and.
Okay,
So
I
would you
need,
like to discuss it in the next meeting then?
Yes, I've tried, the last two
Okay.
meetings, I asked you to put it on the agenda, and it
Recently.
wasn't put on.
So they can, they can have a discussion as long as there's not a deliberation and there's not a vote. So you can have discussions, but
Right.
I would suggest, because there is an ethics, there is a code of ethics. There is, you folks worked very hard on a board code of conduct. There's gotta be a remedy within that policy you all worked in.
There is.
Is that you look to the policy and come to the board with the resolution that you're looking for from that policy. Does that make sense?
Do you know what she's trying?
Yes, it's part of the policy, look at the policy, and then relate it to what I want to relate it to, and then bring it to the board.
No,
Right.
bring the resolution to the board.
Right.
Because
Right.
there should be a remedy for any situation in that code of conduct.
there is.
And if you feel that there's things that's not in the code of conduct or things that you feel that have not been addressed, just like Pamela is stating, just write it down and just make sure you email Risa, ask her to put it on the agenda. If you do not receive a response, you can CC no longer Rich, you can CC myself and make sure that it is going to be put on the agenda. So this way you're not just emailing Risa, but just come with not only the issue, but the solution to the issue so we can discuss it.
What I would feel would be a good solution, not necessarily the solution, but it's my solution, right?
Right,
Okay,
and
so,
of course, it's your solution, but it still has to be discussed by the board.
right, so we need to there's too much,
I feel like right now,
Discussion,
even
deli-
the fact that there's so much discussion about the fact that I wanted to put on the agenda. I'm coming from a different place because I've asked her 2 meetings before this to put on the agenda. It's not there now. So
It's
I
not
feel
in
this
the-
discussion right now is sort of irking me.
But I just said to you, to
Right.
remedy that, CC me so that I can make sure I'm going to be the co-chair now. I can make sure that if Reese doesn't hear about it, I can reach out to Reese. Hey, did you get this from Sue? So this way, it can definitely go. And you can contact us before the meeting just to confirm, instead of waiting for the meeting and then say, hey, this is not on the agenda, which I asked for it, and so forth. So we can all be on the same page. Is that satisfactory?
Yeah, but I just feel it was a long discussion. We could have actually talked about bullying during the time we did this banter right
Well,
now.
hopefully next time we can. Well, she did
Right.
ask you. She did say, do you have anything? And you said, yes, it's about bullying between members. And then when I asked you if it's personal, you said, no, it's about certain things that happen. And you had a chance, but then you veered off of that.
Because by that time, I was already throwing off balance about all the banter, when I just wanted to put it on the agenda and then
Okay.
open it up, period.
Okay. All right, well, now we will be able to,
Right.
for sure, put it on the agenda.
All
Okay?
right.
Just make sure any correspondence that you send Sue, excuse me, sorry, Risa, that you send Risa to CC me on it. This way, if you don't hear about it, or if Risa's busy and she may be tied up with things, I can make sure that I can get in touch with her for you. Okay?
And that's why I mentioned before about before the agenda actually gets printed, that we all look at it to make sure that what we requested to be on the agenda is actually on it before it
That's-
gets printed
But
up.
the
Okay,
agenda is
so
not
folks-
done like
Right.
that. The agenda is created and then it's presented. The only thing we can approve of or so forth or amend are the minutes. So going forward, Sue, just email Risa what you'd like on the agenda, CC me.
But you're missing the point, is
No,
all I'm
no,
saying.
what I'm missing
The
is that
point
you
is that
keep
she
going
doesn't
forward.
put it on the agenda
Sue,
when I
you keep
see-
going forward.
Right.
We've already confirmed and we've already concluded this. There's no need to say but, because, and, if, and that. Just email Risa, CC me, and for the next month, it will be on the agenda. You'll have time to talk, and you'll also have time, like Pamela said, look at the ethics code, look at what you'd like done, and come to us with a resolution instead of accusations and attacks from whomever. Not saying you, not saying me, not saying Risa, but just let's all talk about it as a professional community that's relating and actually being a part of Hadley. Okay?
I need to call, we got to move on here. Okay, so, other topics, I do not think we're going to have time in June because the June meeting is also the annual plan,
Yeah,
the public annual plan. But for some future meeting,
okay.
we still have to finish up the flower bed policy, but that's something that your team has, you got to work with, figure out when and all this, and if it's
Yeah.
going to work for the housing authority staff. And the other thing that we brought up over this past year was the refrigerators, and that got, so, and the other thing was the air conditioners, having them permanently installed. So whenever, and I'm just thinking of these things as I go over the minutes, are these things we need to bring up at an appropriate time, when we have time, for a future agenda? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you,
Sorry.
just a second, so will you let me know when it works for you and your team to
Yes.
do those?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I say something?
Yes.
So when you say to have them permanently, this means that the residents don't have to remove them, they'll just have a cover for them? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, that's what we were talking
So
about.
she just brought to Pamela, instead of removing the air conditioners when they have to, having them permanently installed
you're saying.
and then cover them with a cover so that there's no more.
But for
problem.
insulation, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
well, yeah,
yeah,
for the
yeah.
winter to cover, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And of course, as we already agreed, I think it was 3 months ago or 2 months ago, is that in the June meeting, we do have to deal with election of officers and the subcommittees. So those are the only 2 things I know of right now that have to be done in June, because Rich will be off the,
You
right?
said election of officers, what do you
Yeah.
mean by that?
Well, we have to elect officers.
A
We don't
treasurer,
appoint.
chair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Treasurer, vice
You
chair.
mean for Amherst Housing?
No,
No,
for us.
Folks.
We have a treasurer for Hadley, or I thought,
Rich is the treasurer, and this is
Oh,
his
he
last
is?
meeting, yeah.
No, the Hadley Housing Authority runs the Hadley Housing Authority.
well,
Yeah.
what do you do as a treasurer, Rich?
Read.
Oh,
No, and he-
that's what I thought.
No, he approves bills too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
And he's
mean,
a signer.
besides what he does here, I thought maybe he was the treasurer that figures it out, comes up with, numbers and stuff like
No.
that.
No, the
Oh,
approves
oh.
checks is a signature on the checks as
Oh,
well.
he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll need a new treasurer.
Okay.
And the treasurer cannot be the chair.
So he's the
Yes.
co-chair now, right?
No.
He's-
Well, he's the
co-
vice, I'm sorry.
vice chair
He's the
now
vice
and the
chair now.
treasurer, right?
He
Yeah.
can, you
Yeah,
can,
that's what I
the
thought.
vice chair can be the treasurer, the chair cannot be the treasurer.
Right, the
Yeah.
vice chair
Yeah.
can be the treasurer.
Yeah.
And so what position would I be taking over, the treasurer? and the vice
Nothing
chair?
until it gets voted in.
Well, after today,
Yeah.
if I am
June.
voted in, then for our next meeting, and I am vice chair, am I also the treasurer is what I'm asking?
Not automatically, we have to vote according to
Yeah,
our
because-
bylaws.
Oh,
three to
okay.
get to-
Oh,
So you're
oh,
not-
I see. I thought I had to go another vote.
No,
Oh.
it's up to you folks.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, that's
so we
fine.
will
Yeah. Do it
put a
all then.
slate of candidates, I'll put a slate of candidates on the agenda, and there, you know. Okay, so that, so we'll also be determining subcommittee, finance and policy, because Rich is on both of those committees, and so we'll need to do that.
Finance, what did you say?
Finance and policy subcommittees. There can only be two
Policies,
people on the subcommittee.
Subcommittee and treasurer he is, right? And vice.
We need a vice chair and a
And
treasurer minimum, so.
Okay. Now, if, let's just say I don't take the position, what happens to the Hadley Housing Authority, to the board members?
What does happen?
If you don't take what position?
The coach, if I decide I don't want to do it?
Sue might do it.
I
Sue
mean, what
can't do
happens
it
if
because
it's only
she's-
two, is what I'm saying.
Sue
Only two.
cannot serve on a subcommittee or have
Oh,
an
because
office
of
because,
what's happening.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I was writing that I
Sorry.
needed to call Bank ESB, so I wasn't
So
listening.
if I decide not to take the position as co-chair, right?
Yeah.
What happens to the committee? It's only gonna be Sue.
So we've
and
never had a
Lisa.
co-chair before until recently.
Okay.
It is
Right.
a new thing, so.
it's
if
a
we
new
don't-
thing and it's not a bylaw thing.
Yeah,
So
it
it'd
just
just be
covers.
two is okay? Two
Well-
people would be okay?
A treasurer and a chair
Yeah.
is acceptable.
Right, no,
Yes.
I'm saying, what if I decide not to be on the board anymore?
Oh, then, yeah, we need another board member, because
Yeah.
now we don't, we need
That's what I
three.
was asking.
I'm
And
sorry,
then
yeah,
this-
so if you decide
yeah.
not to be on the, you're on the ballot though, right?
Yeah, but, you know, things can change even if I'm appointed.
Yeah.
And Pam, according to the ethics board, because you're saying something that's not true, I am not kept from being on any subcommittees.
I didn't say
She
that,
didn't
Sue.
say that.
I actually didn't
I
say
said
it.
that.
Right.
I didn't
but
say, so
thought
I'm
you
a
said-
So it has nothing to do
I
with the,
said, I said because she's going through something, so it's my mistake, I didn't know
Right.
that.
So
so
I
couldn't
actually
say.
said you could serve. That's
Yeah.
what came out of my
Okay.
mouth.
Yeah.
I thought you said couldn't.
and then.
Risa said no.
Okay, so when you are under censor by your,
Yes.
by the board you serve
I
on,
know. Reese, we've discussed this
Yeah,
before.
let's move on.
Yeah, let's move
Let's
on.
move on.
excellent.
Not under
You have to
censor,
repeat
like you
yourself.
said.
All right, so
Right.
then, does anyone else have any items for future discussion?
The bylaws I would like to discuss, but not for June, because it's going to be the annual plan, but maybe for July.
Yeah,
Let's bring that,
that would be a
again.
policy issue, a
And-
policy subcommittee.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
Can we have a meeting sometime and try to brainstorm some topics that we could come up with? Because we haven't exactly been bringing up many topics as a board. That we
You're
can think-
free to,
I know, but I thought maybe as a group, we could start, think of some topics that would
Well,
be
yeah, I mean,
beneficial.
unfortunately, I can't be in person, but we can definitely correspond via email.
Right.
Or phone. If, you know, just so we can just see what Reese is talking about and what she's trying to.
you can with one other board member, but not three. We can't have a three-person discussion. It's a
It's a brainstorm, it's not
It doesn't,
discussing
yeah,
anything on the board.
you can't, you just can't. The Attorney General's office says
So
that
what
that's
you're
an open
saying
meeting
is,
law.
we can't talk with each other outside of the meeting about something to bring up on, what did you say you wanted to do?
Right.
Some future topics of board.
You can talk to
Consideration.
Sue.
Right.
You can
So
talk to
can't-
me.
Can't we have an email in blind each other?
No, it
No.
would actually be this format right here, the board discussions.
Right now.
Board discussions.
so
that
That's,
you would
that's
discuss
when you
with-
can bring, yeah.
So that it's open meeting law. You don't want to have the different emails going around.
But can I understand something? So in other words, if Krista was to email her regarding some future topics, and then a month later she emailed me, it's not at the same time, is that can still consider
If
it?
it's the same topic, yeah.
So once you talk to somebody about a topic, no matter how
'Cause there's
much
only
time
3 of
has
us on the
gone,
board.
other than a year passing, you can't.
Yeah, I don't believe there's a time frame.
Because
There's
we're
no
all
time
3
frame,
on the
yeah.
board.
Yeah.
But isn't that sort of detrimental to a board?
Well, it
No,
protects
just for
everyone for the
transparency.
open meeting law. It protects us for things being said or not being said, and that's why 2 can talk, but not the whole board.
You can't
without
even bring it
being
to
in
the
a-
third
in
person,
the,
right, Krista?
Right, without
Yeah.
it being a public thing. So,
So maybe a
anything for
review
the-
of open meeting law, the AG's, there's a whole website with everything, the training material, everything. So take another look at that.
anything you'd want for the open agenda, you could just email Risa and let her know what you'd like for the open agenda. But to discuss what we can brainstorm on, that would have to be a subcommittee, but I'm not sure why, because from all of my other committees, it's different. So we do have subcommittees because we create things, but this is just for the housing authority, so I'm not sure we can do that as far as brainstorming and coming up with ideas.
Right.
This is the venue we brainstorm
Yeah.
in, period.
Yeah.
Open.
But to me, I find out a lot of our brainstorming that we can't do because it's not on the agenda. So I feel like we're getting caught in these
Back-
holes if
Sue-
it's not on the agenda,
So
right?
back to where we said, you would email Risa and you would CC me of what you want on the agenda. This way, it will be on the agenda and we can speak about it instead of continuously saying, well, you mentioned it, it's not on there, because this is affecting everyone right now, okay?
Okay, so we are down to future meetings. We have June 24th at 11, July 29th. It's at 11, I made a mistake on the agenda. That's already scheduled. July 29th is already scheduled.
What did you make a mistake for?
I put proposed
Oh.
instead of already scheduled because we voted on that we agreed last meeting for July 29th. So the proposed date is August 26th for the August meeting. So does that work for you?
As of right now, I don't have anything.
Sue, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, it works for me.
How long before the meeting, if something changes?
Well, obviously,
A week.
at least.
Because you have to
yeah.
have it posted.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so a week, okay.
And it's really important that we all 3 show up because we have to have a quorum.
Yep.
And quorum is 3. Okay, so at the June 24th board meeting, Amherst Housing Authority will present the annual plan for Hadley Housing Authority for fiscal year 2026. We are down to public comments. We have 1 member of the public, John Allen. Do you have any comments?
I do not have any comments. I'm sure you're glad to hear.
No, no, that's the whole thing is comment. Do you have any comments?
I don't have.
Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Except I would propose a standing round of snaps for Richie.
No, Richard, yay.
A speech, please.
Oh, no, we're not getting no speech out. Okay, so, yes, Pamela?
Can I speak as the public too?
Yeah.
Just from going to the annual town meeting, and
Uh-huh.
congratulations to Mr. Allen.
Yeah.
For getting, I believe it was Citizen of the Year award.
Yeah,
So snaps for Mr. Allen too.
snaps for Mr.
You never
Allen.
mentioned it when you walked in here.
No, and you had your lovely daughters there to present, or to.
That was
get the
wonderful.
award.
When did that
Very
take place?
nice.
The last select board meeting?
No.
At the annual meeting. You folks had your
Annual town meeting.
Oh, really? Isn't
Yeah.
that nice?
Yeah, so that was very nice.
All right, Rich, you have the honor.
Let's make the motion to adjourn.
Yes! Do I have a second?
Yes.
Go down here.
Crystal seconds, we're done.
All in
Thank
favor?
you.
Yay.
Yay!
Have a good one.